Yes.
There are exceptions to grammar in every language.
Yes.
So if you dedicate your time, and the best way to do it
Yes.
is by going to a country in which people every day in the streets, in the shops and markets speak Arabic, meaning going to a Muslim country where they speak Arabic. I tried years and years and years, dry grammar, and then when I wanted to speak to someone about something, I couldn't have a conversation because that's what I never learned. I learned the grammatical rules.
Yes.
Then I went to a Muslim country, spent there for 1 year, enrolled in a university program, and it followed quite easily because then after the university classes, you can go there, you want to buy something, you're speaking to them in Arabic. I know they want to speak to you in English maybe, that's fine, but you can speak to them in Arabic and so on. So it's a process-driven learning where if you are immersed in an environment, the environment helps you to assimilate the learning much better. Have you tried going to an Arab country, staying
Several.
there? Okay, and
Yes.
then how did you find?
Well, I'm in the process, which is why this seems like an excellent place to get some advice. For example, I am reading through a version of the Quran that I have that's in English, but I'm finding that that's one of the curiosities I have is since I can't write or read fluently in Arabic, how can I be sure to get the true meaning since my education of the language is incomplete?
So the answer to this question for any linguistic text, any linguistic text, is this: if you have access to multiple translations and even multiple languages, then approximate meaning is something that you can actually get.
And it's a good start.
Yeah, it's a good start. So English has more than 50 or so translations of the Quran. In English language alone, more than 50 translations, right?
Yes.
And they're available even at once. If you go online, you can bring all of them together. So when you compare all these translations, some of them translations are done by academics, so give importance to a good academic translation published by, say, Oxford University Press, Cambridge University Press, Yale and Harvard and so on. You know, they're academic translations which they will be more faithful to the phrases and idioms of the language because they're expert in the language. That's their expertise and proficiency. And I would recommend those translations at least have side by side to someone who is just simply un-Muslim translating it, for example. Some translations are done by, say, non-Muslims who have captured the meaning as much as possible in a poetic language. For example, A.J. Arbery, the Quran interpreter, the Jewish scholar N.J. Dawood, if you haven't heard about him, his works. This is in the past. In present future, there's many works. I can tell you that you can go to Professor Abdul Halim's translations of the Quran. Okay, you can go to a few other translations. There's an easier translation by called Easy. Is it called Easy Quran? Al Khattab's Mustafa Al Khattab. What's it called? Okay, there are many translations like this. Get a translation of it and then say, okay, fine. Let's see what it says. Now, I want to know what it means. Am I able to understand what it's trying to say? Say he is God who is one. Some footnotes. Footnotes number 78. Single, unique, indivisible. Okay? So he's describing about Quran is saying Allah is God who is single, unique, indivisible, one. God, the eternal refuge. There's a footnote there. The one, footnote number 79. The one who sought in times of difficulty and need, and one dependent upon by all existence. It means everyone depends on him. He is one. If you look at other translation, it will say he's absolute. He's independent.
Right.
He is
subtle differences.
Yeah. So because there's one word called samad. The word samad, you would not find anywhere else in the Quran. Only occurs once.
So is your team here or group or association is your intent to help English speakers become more familiar with the Quran?
No. They may have a different perspective. My brother here and myself, we come here to speak with people about our most important obligation in life.
Okay.
And how we fulfill that and how we can be saved. You and I believe in God, right? You believe in God?
Well, probably not.
Probably not. Then we also those people who may not believe in God have a discussion to see how we can come to a true understanding of the matter, of the reality, whether there is a God or not. We do believe there's a God, and we can share our reasons, arguments, if you like, proofs and evidence, if you prefer, whichever suits you, to why there is a creator, why there is only one of those creators, and why we're in need of showing gratitude and thanks and worship of our creator, and why we are here and what happens when we die, and how do we fulfill our obligations to have a life successful in this world as well as life which is come in the hereafter, because we don't believe this is it.
Right.
There is another world in which there will be either a place of happiness or torment, so you make yourself where you want to go. So if you don't believe in God, for example, maybe you can share with us and we learn from you what are your reasons of not believing in a creator God of this universe.
Good for you guys. I love your approach. My beliefs are closer to that of Buddhism.
Okay, so I know there's lots of branches of Buddhism, but whatever you follow, is there a place of a creator, God, who created the cosmos and created the cycle of life and death, created moksha, created the rules of nirvana?
Well, I'll tell you, at least to me, what's probably even more important than that is that there's room for always trying to learn, because I don't claim to know. I claim to seek.
Yeah.
And that's why I like to speak with everybody, especially when it looks like there's a group that have a good and focused purpose. You guys have a good energy about you. I like what you're doing.
We like you having a discussion with us with an open spirit too, because that's where people learn from each other. And if we didn't do that, then there's always the fear of the other. You know why people are afraid of Islam, as you know from the media, media misrepresentation of it. But if you knew about Islam and you've been in a Muslim country, your perception would change.
Many Muslim friends as well.
Yeah. So, in a Buddhist understanding of the reality, what is that? Do you want to share with us?
Well, to speak to Buddhism is not to speak directly to what's closest to my beliefs. My beliefs just more closely associate with Buddhism.
Okay.
Probably to keep things at a closer level, what is pure to me is that one of the most important things is to try to do no harm, to be fair to each other, to respect each other. Of course, things only go so far before some level of conflict happens, and that's when things can get out of control, if not managed in a appropriate diplomatic way. So it's more about...
How do you get answers to the existential questions? Who are you? What are you doing here?
Yes.
And what's going to happen to you when you die?
Yes, and I'll spend my whole life trying to find those answers.
And have you found the answers?
No, not yet.
Right. Okay. So there's a difference between searching and knowing the answer.
Yes, there is.
Islam provides the tools to search. So what it gives you the answer to be settled with contentment and tranquility.
And that's one of the reasons I have 2 copies of the Quran translated to English.
Yeah.
And I ask the question I do initially, because in my efforts to read it, I don't want to get the wrong message because I can't read it in its proper form.
So we are more than happy if you were to, use and consult translations of any languages.
Yes.
You can, or even commentaries of the Quran in any languages to get approximation. But of course, as you are learning Arabic, because you know the best way of learning the Quranic text is to learn the Arabic language, because that's the text of the Quran in that language. So we say, we did not give life to ourselves. Neither can our parents give life to ourselves. I have not given life to anything here, everything that is living. We know the difference between living and non-living. There is a difference. Some people might not see that. I haven't given life to you, for example. My parents haven't given life to me. Life is something, it's an ability where, it's like some kind of force that keeps me living. If suddenly it goes away from it, I'll fall dead. My body will just fall dead. On the ground, it's not going to walk and talk. If I died as a baby, my parents, if they had the ability of giving life, they would have given me life. Every parent would have done that. The fact that no parents can bring life back to their dead baby shows them they did not have the ability to give life. That means life is something that is not given by our parents. So what is it that gave us life? And not that only. What is it taking away our life? by a program. It's programmed in our DNA. We should die. We should cease. We should perish. Everything seems to be like that. Nothing is everlasting. So we have a programmed cell death. Apoptosis. It's like a program in the DNA. A program doesn't come other than from a programmer, a designer. We don't expect, like even this bottle, to be believed that, this just so happened that it got made like this by no intelligence, no conscious entity, with no will and wisdom behind it. The reasons, what's your name, young man?
Ben.
Ben, do you know why you have this thing?
Is it for what? It's like to show you how much water is left. It's like a measure, I think.
Most of the bottles have, can you see the big one there?
Yeah?
Can you see all these curves? Do you know why? So that once you finish, you can crush it and it becomes so compact that you can recycle it. Because you have now less volume to have more of the bottles together. If you have a whole bottle like this, it takes a lot of space.
Well, what do we do with the bottles at home when it's empty?
We collect money to go have cans of bottles, and we'll crush up the bottles and then
exactly.
And then put the cap back on.
Yeah.
So
exactly. So this is purposely designed that way. To consider that this bottle just comes with this kind of intricate design to hold water without any leaks, it's not sensible. That's why I'm saying the whole universe, including the program of ourselves that we die, it is evidence for a designer, a creator, or life giver who has brought us in this existence, in this form, in this particular assembly of complexity and organization. Because complexity can be different types, but when the complexity is organized, right? Organized, like a phone, for example, that you have, that you use, it has an intent behind it that you can hear voices of your friend and family or other people transferred in that particular piece from another place. It records picture and lots of things. You can write on it, you can send email. Intent, purpose, complexity, all of that organized. To consider that this phone just came without an organizer, a designer, it's not a reasonable thing to believe in.
Pardon me for one moment. So this is a good example. This is my son. It's his first time in London.
Nice meeting you.
Speakerscorner.
Nice to meet you too.
And he was interested to see what happens here, and I tried to explain to him, this is an excellent example of thoughtful, intelligent people who have things that they want to share with others, and they're trying to share without hostility.
Which I am
and with respect,
fine with.
Which is wonderful. Thank you for showing a good example to my son, and it being an engaging topic for me personally as well, and one of great interest.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. So, what would be your reflection on this reasoning? That if things appear to us, sensible people, organized in this assembly, how can it not be the product of a designer?
Well, you have the challenge of correlation versus causation.
Okay. Where is the missing link in here?
Oh, I don't know if there is a missing link. Just a caution that we always need to be careful that
Absolutely.
just because something seems like
I
it must
agree with
be,
you.
doesn't
I agree with
always
you.
prove it is.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't disagree with your beliefs either, so there's no conflict there. But I do believe in proof,
Yeah.
which
So-
is always challenging with any form of religion.
Yeah. So when we observe all of this,
Go to
it's simply
enlightenment
just saying
and see what
there's
it
simply some correlation but no causation. I mean, what is stopping us from saying actually?
Why is it whiteboard?
Why are we saying it's simply a correlation and not accepting that as a proof?
Probably faith. Probably a faith
Okay.
that doesn't
What
exist.
proof would be a sufficient proof for knowing there's a designer?
It's a good question.
Because if we are going to limit ourselves only to correlation, not to causation, then we need to ask what's our scope in our methodology. So the methods that we're using, what in our methodology will give us certainty that if we were to approach in this manner and in this fashion, that we can be sure about it. That yes, there is a causation and there is a designer. So what is that in the methodology? It must be inherent within the methodology that we are using to seek the truth.
Oh, there must be an answer. I haven't found it yet.
Yeah, but so far we know. So far, what do you know so far? You can't just, we can always remain skeptic. Because there's always questions. Why? There is no end to questions of why. The only time when your heart can be content, when that why eventually rests on the ultimate explanation, who is the originator of everything. Until it goes and reaches to that level, then you can only ask why. Oh, why is this blue? Because of certain chemicals. Why certain chemicals? Because of this. You can keep on asking and asking, and you can never, it's never ending. But ultimately, these questions can only be resolved with contentment in the heart. Where is it gone?
Over to the whiteboard.
When it goes to,
Let me just make sure I have eyes.
please
on it.
do.
It's
I mean,
nothing more
why
important.
don't
than
we?
his brother's
Do you want to
will
just ask him to
understand.
come back?
Yeah, right.
And then when you're together, then he can go. He's very curious, of course.
Yes, yes. He's a good lad.
Yeah.
He was only